Welcome back to the dopest show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer. This is Sasha. Spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but have been off heroin since April 9, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the dumb stuff I did to get put in prison. I've also got a lot of stories about the crazy stuff that happened when I was actually in prison. And God forbid you end up in prison, you won't have to make some of the same mistakes I made. So, I was talking to my friend who I was in prison with. And there's a number of stories that, see, all I have to do is hear a word. I have to hear a word, I have to see a TV show, I have to watch another prison, and it reminds me of a whole bunch of stories that I done forgot to tell. I haven't forgot the stories, it's just, there's so many of them, sometimes I've got pages and pages written of this stuff, but talking to this guy, I was like, oh my Lord, how did I not have this list down? Because this happened a dozen times, and you saw certain things and you wondered what was going on. And you eventually found out. So I'm going to try not to tell, multiple stories in one story. I'm going to try to leave this one to the one story it is. But anyway, there's this dude, and if y'all been watching me for a minute, Flammin Raymond, okay? It's a low security. Big old jacked white guy. Talk like this, he talks country. And, yeah, he's a predator. Wasn't that old, I reckon about 30 or so. But, and you wouldn't guess it. You wouldn't guess it. You watch enough, you've been there for a couple months, you're going to figure it out. Because, okay, as opposed to medium security, where that was just, they had Peter Beach, which was just a whole bunch of deviants piled on top of each other. At low security, it wasn't like that. Flammin Raymond had like about a little crew, dozen people. Okay? And he was the one, he big old boy. Yeah, big old boy. And, He'd turn people out, and you'd see them, they'd be walking behind him like his caddy. They wouldn't be wearing tight stuff with, the Kool-Aid or nothing like that. But they'd be his caddy. They'd be carrying all his stuff, and he'd just be walking with nothing up front, strutting. But there's funny stories about him in general. But first day I was in prison, I was sitting at a table next to him. And my buddy Fox, who I'd met the day before, it was my first morning waking up in prison. Buddy Fox sits like a dormitory set, and he's like, yo man, get up, time to go to breakfast. I was like, oh man, yeah, I forgot, I'm in prison now. Yeah, okay, self-surrender, show up at the front door, don't go through transportation, let the judge lay to self-surrender. First day waking up in prison, it sucks. So I walk over to eat breakfast, sit down at the table with Fox. There's like 4 people at a table next to us. I mean, it's like, you ever watch that movie, The Truman Show, where this guy doesn't know it, but his life is like a TV show that the world watches, and the joke's on him, everybody else is an actor. I mean, there were certain points that I thought, man, maybe like The Truman Show, maybe that's what my life is, because of how orchestrated certain stuff seemed. Like, the coincidence that my first morning ever in prison, eating breakfast, I was drinking my milk. I remember spitting my milk back in the cart, and I said, what did he say? Guy on the table next to us, Flammin Raymond, said, yeah, I like the young boys in the, so what? And I said, what did he say? He said, oh, that's Flammin Raymond. And you know how some people call ramen noodles Raymond noodles? Casey, my fiance, she calls ramen Raymond. I always give her a hard time about it. It's kind of funny, call it ramen noodles. I guess ramen Raymond, tomato. But anyway, I'm like, Flammin Raymond, like kind of like Flammin Cheetos, but Flammin Ramen noodles? What does that mean? What's up with that? And he's like, nah, Flaming Raymond. That's the shot caller for the punks. I'm like, oh, that explains everything. Where am I at? The day before, I'm at home, sleeping in my own bed. I wake up in prison. I'm eating breakfast one table over from Flammin Raymond. Yeah, he's a straight predator. Word was he was a chomo, and yeah, he was a predator. He didn't make people wear Kool-Aid or nothing like that, but he would have them be like their caddy. They'd be like his caddy, just carrying all his stuff. Like, they'd have 3 bags bouncing them out, walking behind him after a couple weeks. That's when you knew it done happened. That's when you knew Flammin Raymond got him. And Fox, Lord have mercy, I remember sitting at a table with him. He got this guy in debt to him, and they settled the debt with like a prison marriage. It's in my video way back. And Fox, I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't want him to look over here. I don't want no association with this fool. And Fox, being big old clown, is Fox a big old, now Fox, that's a giant dude. He's 6'3", about 260, just a giant dude. And bald head. He works as a head bouncer, last I talked to him. But anyway, he looks over and he says, "So Raymond, did you consummate the marriage?" And I'm just sitting at the like this, like, you know, like they're over there. I'm like this. I'm like, and Raymond's like, "I burn it up," and I'm like, "Oh my, where am I at?" So anyway, he had this little clan, about a dozen people, and his new person shows up. They call Snookie as a nickname. Now I don't need an army of little orange people getting mad at me because I said Snookie. I didn't give the nickname. That was the nickname given, and that was the nickname called, and that was the nickname responded to. You know, just like some of these other nicknames, a lot of time pop culture gets involved, and a lot of time the nicknames they get, they don't even really look like that person at all. It's just, you know, certain features or whatever that they end up giving that person that nickname. But anyway, this person is like South American, I believe. But yeah, full on, you know, and of course people jump at the woodwork when new people like that show up on a compound. Nothing against anybody, live your life, everything else, but Flammin Raymond, you know, I mean, he's a chummy, he mess with kids. We can all agree, you got differences on religion, life, philosophy, but if you mess with the kids, we don't really care for you, okay? But anyway, and that ain't right that two things are associated, but it's the way it is, it was in prison, whatever. So there were different people and stuff, and a lot of times you see people pair up, especially at the medium security. People paired off real quick. I think that was more like a safety type of issue that was involved. Like it was more like they paired off for protection, and people got serious about that. Maybe it's because people at the medium security had a whole bunch of time, so you know. But anyway, at the low security, it wasn't quite the same actually. So, you know, and there's a unique thing at the low security, too. There are no cameras in any building on any compound. There are different buildings that are like fortresses. I lived in Richmond Hall at first, which was 3 floors and a basement with about 350 people. It was a building so big it had to have 2 guards. Like, seriously, so many halls, fortress, everything. They had a bathroom that was one hall over from me. See, you have bathrooms in your cell, but it had the old bars, you know, so you didn't do number 2 where people could see you. I'd have to walk to what they call the parking lot, which was a 40-man open living area. Oh man, at nighttime, people lived over there. You heard the stories. The roaches that were big enough to drink your beer and smoke your dope that weren't scared of the light or anything. But when the light goes out, the ones that are scared of the light come out, and they crawl the ceilings and they fall in people's faces and their mouth, everything. I woke up with one on my big toe one time. But I wasn't in that parking lot where it wasn't as bad, so I didn't have to deal with that, thank God. But they have like a bathroom with like 4 stalls with locks on them. So, I mean, that's a nice thing about a low security, a lot more privacy, you know, with shower, bathroom type of stuff. But you never lock down. You have to stay in your room when they do count, okay? So you stay in your room till they do count, they clear count. It's 20 minutes. You could stay up as late as you wanted. Now, when I moved to Carolina Hall, which had 140 people, okay, that building was like a pressure cooker. The walls would literally sweat. I stay up in the TV room with Khalifa, Jay, and King. We'd stay up watching TV because they had an air conditioner in there. Even though it'd be 60 outside, the building would still be 80 or 90 on the inside. So I'd stay up till 1 or 2 till it cooled off because it was too hot to sleep. Like once it gets above 90 degrees, I thought my fan was broke. Put my face in front of it. You couldn't feel the air blowing. I thought my fan was broke. But once it gets so hot, you don't even feel hot air. It just feels like nothing's coming off the fan. But anyway, seeing as how there are no cameras, it's not a standard pod, and you can be up. My first 6 months, I drank tomato wine and fixed fried rice at 3 a.m. in the morning. I drank tomato wine my first 6 months, didn't. The rest of the time I was in there, next 4.5 years, didn't do none of that. But first 6 months I did. My point is, you could be up roaming and everything else. You got stalls with locks on them, you got different passages, different stuff. And in Richmond Hall, the one building, they had a bathroom that had a door on it with a handle on it that had no window on it. Complete privacy, and people just put a sock or something or a piece of toilet paper above the door when they shut it so you know not to go in there. Well, people known were to double up and go in there at night apparently. Same thing with Lee Hall, where my counselor threatened to send me a time or two. You know, Lee Hall, that had a reputation of the freaks come out at night, not. Now, me personally, you know what I mean, I'm straight to there. That's just what it is. I just got me some magazines, which you weren't even allowed to have then. So, you know, for me, that's what it was. But anyway, after hours, people link up. You'd hear stories about this stuff. People disappear off here, disappear off there. At the medium security, people would, it was easier to spot people because you'd see two people go in the bathroom or in the cell, put up the bathroom sign, come out of the cell. That's something you would see. Now, at the low security, people got by with doing stuff a whole lot longer before it ended up coming to light. Now, eventually, what I ended up seeing was there's this guy in the building. There's this country dude in the building, chubby country dude. We'll call him Matt. And Matt, you know, he's like just a white country dude, but he'd try to talk like he was Yo MTV hip hop, and then around certain people. And I know certain street people, white street people, and that's what it is. Nothing wrong with that. You know, I got a lot of friends. My friend Chris, that ended up dying, his girlfriend took his life. He was a street person. You know, grew up, that's how he talked. But when you got this little country corn butterball trying to talk, you know, a certain way, that gets a little annoying because you hear him talking one way around certain people in a complete different way, like to such an extreme that you're like, oh my God, stop it, dude. But anyway, there's something I started noticing. I started noticing that he'd end up meeting Flammin Raymond, giving him some money. And you know, at the low security, it's not, you can't do it as discreetly. If it was the medium security, he probably could have done that more discreetly because the money was stamps. And you could put 100 stamps inside of a little thing of dental floss. They pull the thing up, put $100 stamps down in there, pass off a thing of dental floss. Bam, done. At the low security, stamps weren't really money. It was mackerel because they had weights at the low security. So mackerel, packs of fish were the money. And they'd smush them down so then they're mixed in with the oil till they weren't even edible, and shove like 70 packs inside of a box that if you bought from commissary could hold 24. And you'd see this little butterball country dude, Matt. You'd see him giving Flammin Raymond a big old, you know, a laundry bag, and you'd tell it had something stuffed in the middle. People pass off laundry bags that had money in the middle, and that's how you had to do it at the low security because the mackerels took up so much space. You couldn't discreetly pass money in the same way that you could at the medium. And I thought, what's going on here? And it kind of, for a while, I was like, Flammin Raymond a pimp? What's going on? Is he pimping people out? What is happening? But nah, he wasn't a pimp. He had a whole different type of racket going on. So this happened a number of times, and it got more frequent. It got more frequent to where Flammin Raymond was coming by and asking for him. Now, if Flammin Raymond comes by and asks for somebody over and over, I'm going to get suspicious. I'm going to think, what is Flammin Raymond wanting with you every week? What is going on? What do you have? What extracurriculars do you have going on? I mean, seeing as how you're hanging around, me and the same people hanging around, you know, there's a certain type of thing in prison with certain image. You know, it is what it is. I'm talking about just breaking it down. You are who your friends are. That's something my mom told me when I was young, you know, but I really saw that in prison. You know, people who was into drugs, people was into gambling, playing them gambling tickets, and then the people who did those extracurriculars, yeah, that was something too. I got mad at, that's another story, I ain't gonna bring that in. But anyway, anyway, so it keeps happening. And you get little glimpses of stuff. And after this person, Snookie, showed up on the compound, and you'd see different people talk to say it wasn't like the medium. The medium people just be like, the one Muslim guy went and told his Muslim brothers, listen, I ain't doing the Muslim thing anymore. You got a problem, do something about it. And just, you know, renounced his religion. At the low security, it was a little bit more, you'd have to keep an eye to notice certain things. And, you know, you'd see certain people walking in the corner of the gym, talking over in the corner where nobody'd see and everything else. and stuff like that. And but once this Snookie first started there, you'd see different people, and you'd be like, "Yep, I kind of had the feeling about him," and then you'd be like, "Him?" And yeah, find out. And then same people going and seeing their wife in the visiting room, kissing her on the mouth. Lord have mercy. Anyway, Flammin' Raymond becomes a little more frequent by this building. And you see certain things and you don't hear certain things, but you can sense that there's some type of tension going on. And this little guy, man, he's stocky now. He's stocky, got a little bit of muscle to him. He's mostly overweight though. But in reality, I would say he probably still weighed less than Raymond did. Raymond was big and jacked. Okay, but sometimes people get mad, they hit their limit, and they're like, "I've had enough." It had one of them moments where they was doing it, and it was funny because he was mad and he was going off and then you saw Raymond not scared a bit, just looking at him like grinning, like, "You want to go there? You want to go there? You sure you want to go there?" And you can't hear it, but you can tell there's something's up now. And sure enough, what ultimately ended up happening, and this was basically the one that let me know what was up when I saw people giving Raymond his payments. Okay, he had a racket going on, and basically what he did was he got with them, with different punks that got there, and he'd be like, "Listen, here's what's up," and being that they weren't as big of a community, people gossip in prison. A lot of the time, the punks gossip relentlessly, always gossiping, putting people out there. There was the head of the Aryan Brotherhood, his cellmate, doing extracurriculars, and he got put out there because a lot of gossip stuff going on. But he basically, would get the gossip from him. He's like, "Listen, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and you're going to split the money with me as best I can figure it." And they'd keep it quiet. They wouldn't put the person out there, wouldn't whisper, wouldn't mention. But even if they did say something, that community, it'd be in that community. And oh, give me just a minute. Anyway, he put him out there for doing that. He put him out there, and he's like, put little Matt out there, and he's like, "Listen, you know Snookie, little Matt, Snookie, they've been having a thing going on for some time now." And everybody heard about it. Everybody clowned him. He couldn't sit at the same tables. He couldn't do nothing. It changed everything for him overnight. And you could see how red his face got when people said everything. Somebody makes something up like you said on you, you know what I mean? And there was a time where people got a little over ambitious, and they end up doing that to somebody, which that's another story in itself. But basically, Flammin' Raymond's a big old jack white boy, and little Matt didn't want none of that. He didn't want none of that, and so he got put out. He got put out there, and it made a lot of sense. Some of the stuff I'd seen with some of the people paying, because I saw some people talking to Raymond that don't never talk to Raymond, don't have no association with Raymond, and then they're going and giving him payments. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, pimping. He's pimping. They're paying him and he's pimping. Nah, it was a lot more elaborate than that. He'd sick Snookie on him. And, or maybe they came to Snookie on their own, and then that's how it happened. But it was a whole system that he had. And it was basically, "Listen, I know your secret. I'm Flammin' Raymond. I'm the shot caller of the punks. I know these things. I hear the gossip directly from the source. Either we can come up with a little plan right now, or I can go tell everybody. Oh yeah, they're going to know. They're going to know it's true." Now, as far as I know, he only put out people that actually were doing that. Now, there was a whole other little thing with a couple of little punks that tried something on somebody else that backfired bad. And see, that was part of the thing too, because the one I'm talking about, the backfire, don't believe they were doing it. I'm like 99% sure they weren't doing it, that it was a plan on somebody they thought they could get. Okay, who was just nice in passing, but there was too much other stuff, you know, make me believe that wasn't true. But with Raymond, like I said, with extortion, fear, okay, there's the fear factor, the fear of information exposed, the violence that might happen, and, you know, the muscle to back it up. I mean, you know, there were gangs, and they had to have an enforcer. They had to have somebody that was going to do something like that. And then, anyways, that's the end of this one. If you liked it, press the like button. If not, it's 20 minutes and 38 seconds of your life in which you'll never get back. Sasha's sniffing like a cokehead by the door. So, yeah, this is probably my only one today. My stepson, he got a little birthday today, so I'm working on getting another channel started up to do some of my extra stuff where I talk about shows and some of this other stuff, you know, on there. I've been doing a whole bunch on here. I figure to split it up. You know, the people that want to hear that can, the people that just want my stories about prison and stuff, just do the, you know, do one day on here like that. I figured that'd be split it up so the people who want to see this can see it and the people who want to see the extra can see it there. You know, so Pinto should be coming this weekend too. As far as I know, he still is. I'll have to let you know. I'll have to get further confirmation on that. He's got a wife and he's got a couple kids now, but he said he's coming. He's planning on coming. That's what I'm planning right now. I've got the money ready for him to come down here, give him travel money, keep him fed, and give him some walking money too. But anyway, if you liked the video, press the like button.